All right. I think we're in a good spot here. I think everyone can hear me. All right, cool. So, Nebius Group, we're in a rough day today. Definitely a rough day in the markets. Nasdaq is taking a beating, especially memory. SanDisk is down 10% on the day. Semiconductors are getting beaten up pretty bad as well. Need to adjust this slightly, so I'm right here. There we go. And let me move that. There we go. Awesome. Okay. Cool. And then let's go live on TikTok as well. Okay. Rough day today. Rough day in the markets. We're looking at some pretty big corrections, especially for big names like SanDisk. Nvidia is down something like 5% today. A lot of nerves with respect to what's going on in the markets today. Down 5% for Nvidia. We're below $200 a share right now. Obviously, I don't think that there's anything to be scared of from a fundamentals perspective with respect to what's going on with Nvidia, but this is kind of crazy. Big corrections for things like ASML, big corrections for things like Nvidia, SanDisk, and we're also seeing some pretty interesting activity for companies like Micron. We got close to the $1,000 per share point earlier this week. In fact, we did get above it a couple of times for Micron Technology, but this is something that was a bit of a surprise. Markets are a little bit spooked with the amount of money that is required for CapEx investments, and obviously with what's going on in the Middle East right now, just some uncertain nerves going on. Is AMD a good buying price? We can check out AMD. Right now with AMD down 7%. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of AMD at this price. This is an expensive company. I mean, when you're in the GPU and microchip game and you're sitting at 160 times earnings, it's kind of tough. This is such a confusing market. Yeah. I think those who are the patient investors in today's market are the ones that are going to get rewarded for it, Ben. Can you look at AIP again? I'm thinking about buying. And should I sell MU? Is with respect to Nvidia, with respect to Micron, these companies, I don't think like panic selling. I'm not convinced is a great idea. I think right now that there's some activity going on, and there's some people getting spooked, rightfully so. But I don't think that this is something that, this isn't like the AI bubble popping or anything like that. I think most of what's going on today is a reaction of what's going on in the Middle East, and I think there's some nerves going into Mag 7 earnings later this week. Seagate's down 5.5% today at about $805 a share. At this point, a company like Seagate it feels a bit expensive to me. The memory game in general feels a bit expensive to me. And it as somebody who doesn't have direct exposure to these companies, like I'm not in DRAM, I'm not in SanDisk, not in Seagate, Western Digital, any of these. They're at prices that are looking more attractive than they were. I think Mag 7 earnings will be positive or negative. For the most part, I think they're going to be positive. For the most part, I think they're probably going to beat. I think that Meta's going to beat. I think that Microsoft's going to beat. And I think that Google's going to beat. It's the guidance. It's the guidance that we really need to be worried about. It's the guidance that we have to pay a lot of really close attention to. Those are the things that I'm interested in. Harrison, what's going on, man? Welcome in. What do I like short term? I'm not necessarily a short term investor, user 507, so I don't, and besides, I don't know how you define short term, so I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% clear on how you want me to answer that question. I sold my ASML position today. Well, I hope you got out at a decent price, or maybe you got out right as the market opened, because we're down 6.8% on ASML today. It's definitely at an interesting valuation at this point. Thoughts on Nokia? I don't take Nokia seriously, to be honest. Holy, what a buy day. Jordan, honestly, I'm starting to see some prices that could say sale signs on them, to be honest. So these could be interesting entry points for some of these companies, but it obviously requires to take a look under the hood, take a look at the fundamentals, all this type of stuff. Sold down around 5%, so I took 20% profits. There you go. Nice job. Nice job, Harrison. But will SanDisk see $2,000 a share? Listen, I don't. When it was at $2,000 a share, it was pretty heavily overvalued at that point. So if we're going to get back to a level where we're at $2,000 a share, like where we were back in the middle of June, towards the end of June, right here, that might be a while. To be honest. So we'll see. I think Mag 7 earnings are going to have some type of indication of what's going to end up happening this week. But the higher up we are in the AI supply chain, meaning the when we look at memory, when we look at semis, we're more exposed at that point than others. What do you think about AMD and Intel now? I'm not a fan of AMD's price. I'd rather honestly just buy shares in NVIDIA. AMD's valuation is a bit rich. Honestly, it's not surprising to me to see Intel down today as well. Even at $90 a share, Intel's very expensive. This is a company that's going to take a long time to turn things around. Thoughts on Nebius? I'm not bullish on NeoClouds as far as their business model long term. Nebius is one of the more reasonably priced ones, but even that reasonably priced should be put in quotation marks because it's still expensive. And Micron's in an interesting spot as well. SK Hynix. Yeah, I mean, we can go look at SK Hynix. Wow, 8%. Yeah, that's a lot. It's so when I said that things look like they could have sales signs on them, it's companies like SK Hynix that are like, okay, this could be an interesting entry point. For companies like Micron, it's like, this could be an interesting entry point. For the memory game, things are more expensive at the moment. So like Seagate, SanDisk, Western Digital, not as excited about those valuations as I am these right here. So there could be an interesting thesis for a company like SK Hynix. There could be an interesting entry point for a company like Micron. Thoughts on S&P Global? As a business, Anders, I think they have an interesting niche. I'm more excited by other opportunities at the moment, though. Thoughts on NVIDIA at 196? That's another interesting one. NVIDIA at 196, SK Hynix at about $140 a share, Micron I think at around like $890, I think we saw. These are interesting valuations in my opinion. That's what I think. And ServiceNow, how's ServiceNow doing? Nice. ServiceNow's up 10% on the day. Well done. Extremely good news for them. I think 92 a share was probably our entry point last week for ServiceNow. I was hoping maybe things would get below $90 a share. My target price for them was sitting at around between 90 and $95 a share. So if you got in ServiceNow last week or earlier, last week at around the $92 to $95 price range, you're sitting pretty at the moment. I would hang on to things for now and see where price discovery continues to take you. So there's some things to like about ServiceNow still at this price, but it's getting a little bit more expensive. Malik says, if we waited out, we could just get some better prices. I wouldn't buy now. Intel should be in the dirt. They were about to go bankrupt last year. Yeah, Malik, no, I get that. 100%. 100% understand that. There were definitely, there's still a lot of things to not like about Intel. They're on the right path, though, in my opinion. Thoughts on the AIS ETF? Crass, to be honest, don't have a ton. Is Oracle buy? I'm not a fan of Oracle, especially since the debt got downgraded, especially considering the credit risk. They're having a decent day today, but they're the weakest hyperscaler. They've got a lot of exposure to OpenAI spending commitments. I'm honestly not a fan of Oracle. How about Bloom Energy? Yeah, Bloom was a pretty popular one, especially earlier this year. Flat today. I don't think that Bloom Energy is going to get back to where it was back in June. Seeing it at $250, $300 a share was a very rich valuation. Around this point, middle of June, towards the end of June, when it was approaching $350 a share, that was expensive. And it's still expensive. It's an interesting game they're playing. I think the single celled energy and the fuel cells that they'll provide essentially for data centers is an interesting play. I'd have to see a really strong bull case on it, and I'd have to be really convinced of a bull case. It would have to be a high conviction play. And to no surprise, DRAM's down 3%. And that's mainly because companies like SanDisk, Western Digital, and Seagate are taking a beating today. Thoughts on the Synopsys backbone of chips? Anders, do you have a ticker for them? Why are semis down so big today? I think the market's getting us spooked a little bit about what spending commitments look like. I think that there's a little bit of unease and tension that's going on with what's going on in the Middle East. Things seem to be escalating again, unfortunately. And also things are escalating in a waterway that's critical for European and Asian trade, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which undoubtedly a lot of microchips pass through and a lot of semiconductors pass through. So that could heavily impact earnings for these companies. Thoughts on Robinhood? Robinhood's interesting. I think it's more interesting than SoFi, to be honest. I think the fact that they got into the prediction game, or at least I haven't seen it personally yet, could be a good play. There's more to be excited about Robinhood in my view than there is SoFi. Do you think increased volatility could be the new norm moving forward? It very well could be, Jacob. It very well could be. In the way I kind of see things at the moment, I think in the bull market that we currently find ourselves in, I think we're probably, somewhere in the 6th inning out of 9 innings. And volatility may be the norm moving forward until a correction comes. But the thing is that it's extremely hard to call that, and extremely hard to call that correctly. So I'm not giving like specific dates or anything like that, but volatility has certainly been a factor, especially the last couple of months. Synopsys. So these guys are in the exact way they describe themselves. It operates 2 segments: design automation, design IP. Okay, so they design chips essentially. Sunnyvale, California. It looks like they also have technology, computer aid-driven TCAD, mass synthesis, manufacturing analytic solutions. Okay, so they essentially provide IP for design for microchips, it looks like. Taking a look at their basic fundamentals, or their recent fundamentals, S&PS. See how that has been. Their performance over the last couple of years. Yeah, to nobody's surprise, things have been going well for them. Not surprised to see numbers like this. Q2 26 was down quite a bit, though. I mean, they had 75 bips of net margin. So on 2.3 billion in income, there was only 17 million. I'd imagine there probably is some non-cash expenses associated with that, maybe. So I would have to take a closer look into their books. And it looks like the balance sheet health is kind of stagnant a little bit. Maybe there was it looks like there might have been a buyback back in Q1. So the other thing to consider is it's a pretty rich valuation. So like a lot of companies in this space, it would probably have to be a pretty high conviction play. I have to take a look and see what's going on underneath the hood at this company and see like what their revenue streams are, quality of earnings, all this types of stuff to be convinced that I should buy stock in this company. So we'll see. When do you think the right time is to sell ServiceNow? Depends on when you got in. My target price for ServiceNow is between 90 and 95 a share. Currently as is, there could be from a technical perspective, there could be more reasons to like ServiceNow. This momentum could carry. We could find more support levels at maybe the $110 per share price level. From a fundamental perspective, though, at this point, it's slightly difficult, I think, to justify its valuation. If it goes any higher, it certainly will be hard. top positions. My top positions I have are in AMAT, Applied Materials. I also hold a pretty big position in Apple in my portfolio. And I also have others. Perfect. I'll take this as its financial advice. Palantir. I think that Palantir is a great company. They have incredible margins, very, very strong growth. But it's a rich valuation for me. How's Photonics doing today? Malik, do you have a ticker for them? Do you have a ticker? If you provide a ticker, we can take a look at it. Avgo is barely down compared to other semis. Is that a good sign? Yeah, how is Broadcom looking today? Slightly down today for Broadcom. Yeah, it's interesting to see that. I would expect Broadcom to be down further. Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I'm not really sure why that's going on, but it's definitely worth examining closer. I don't know if that represents an arbitrage opportunity, but something interesting to note. I didn't realize Broadcom was only down so little compared to the rest of the semi sector. What do you think about YMAG and YMAX with their 1% weekly dividends? Apple user, I've honestly never even heard of these guys. YMAX. Yield Max universe of fund of options income ETFs. So if they have a 40% yield. And what are their... Well, they haven't done well over the past year. And if it's an options income ETF, it's probably pretty volatile. I would imagine. Yeah, look at that. Ouch. That it has not performed well over the past 5 years. To be honest, if I want to get something that has a high yield, I'd rather get into a REIT, like a real estate investment trust, to be honest. As opposed to an options income ETF. IREN, how is IREN doing today? Down another 3.4%. Okay. Yeah. So of all the neoclouds, IREN's okay. Again, like I said earlier, I'm not super bullish on the long-term prospects of neoclouds. If I had to buy shares in a neocloud, though, it would probably be IREN, but I don't. If it loses support at $30 a share, it could be an interesting entry point. In my view, I think that they're the healthiest out of all of the income statements of all the neoclouds I've looked at. So I would prefer IREN over Nebius. I would definitely prefer IREN over CoreWeave. But we'll see. Oracle's a buy after 50% drop from the recent top. I don't agree. I think Oracle is entering value trap territory. They have a big credit problem. They've got a big credit risk problem from certain customers. So we'll see. Where stocks pumping the S&Ps down? Because anybody's guess, but I could try and find that out for you. Will Sandisk see the same run-up again as it had in May till June? I don't think so, Laura. To be honest, I don't think so. I think Mag 7 earnings are probably going to spook investors a little bit more, to be honest, when they come out later this week. We'll see, though. We'll see. There's still reasons to like... there's still reasons to like companies like SanDisk, Western Digital, Applied Materials. I wrote over Nebius. Why? Because they're not losing money at the same scale Nebius is. I think they're going to scale a little bit better than Nebius will. And I think that the way they differentiate themselves, I mean, the reliable or the renewable energy play is an interesting way to take it. Didn't Oracle bonds recently get downgraded? Yeah, they went from triple B to triple B minus. So they're no longer investment grade credit. Yeah, Oracle is good. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not a fan of Oracle at this price. I think that there's a lot of what Oracle's valuation is being held up on, in my opinion, is hopes and dreams that OpenAI follows through, and I don't think OpenAI will. Okay, GLW and AAOI, to name a few for photonics. Yeah, how is AAOI doing? Down 4.5%. Okay. Not ideal. Not terrible. Not as bad as others. Corning, down about 4.3%. Okay. So we're not, I mean, as far as photonics are concerned, they're not doing quite as bad as memory is. And some semiconductors. Applied AMAT's not doing great today either. Yeah, they're down 5.3%. They were doing worse a little while ago. They were down close to like the 7-8% range. So it's an interesting spot. Bryson says ServiceNow. ServiceNow is a big winner today. Honestly, I think it deserves this win. I think the stock is moving in the right direction. I think the right time to get into ServiceNow was probably somewhere around like $93, $94 a share last week. We could see more support for it at this level. I mean, I did a deep dive on the company on my YouTube channel. There's a lot of things to like it. From the technical side of things, there's things to like about ServiceNow. From the fundamental side of things, in my view, it's close. Your growth assumptions have to be pretty optimistic about ServiceNow, though. That's the thing. Do I think SK Hynix is overvalued? No, I don't. Any more thoughts on Jersey Mike's? Ben, I think that Jersey Mike's, I think it's going to be a typical IPO. I think with Jersey Mike's, they're probably going to have a pretty good, first week after they start trading, and then they're going to start to correct. I still don't know what the target price is. I don't think anybody does, because the banks underwriting that deal haven't released that information yet. So we'll see. With respect to what we'll see Jersey Mike's starting to trade at. But to be honest, I think it'll be a pretty typical IPO. Is Seagate a good buy before their earnings tomorrow? To be honest, I'd have to, with Seagate Technologies, I'd have to look pretty closely at what their books say. It's not a cheap stock. It's not priced at a deal. I'll say that. I wouldn't call Seagate a deal at this price, nor would I call something like Western Digital a deal at this price. There are more if I had to pick one though, I'd rather choose Western Digital. And there are things to like about both, but Seagate has to do well in its earnings, in my view. Is Home Depot's or low a buy? That's an interesting question. To be honest, Bryson, I don't know. I'd have to look at both of them. They're very, very, very similar. Very similar to each other. So it'd be hard to say what the right call is in that situation. SanDisk got this price. I don't know, John. I don't know. We'll see. We got to. I'm to be honest. I'd rather wait for Mag 7 earnings first. I'd rather wait and see what the news looks like coming out of the Middle East before I get into something like SanDisk. Thoughts on Applied Digital? Applied Digital, Wilt, is a no for me. They're losing money. They're losing money faster than they're making it. They're not. This is not good. Like, this is their quarterly income statement. They're not profitable. Revenue stagnant, profits are coming down faster, and to be honest, like from an annual perspective, it's worse almost. And their balance sheet, while it's not as bloated as it was comparing 24 to 25, it's still not great. So you'd have to take a look at their debt. You'd have to take a look at what their growth looks like. And their operating cash flow in 2025 was honestly abysmal. Like that's not good. So no, I'm passing on Applied Digital. I'd love to see a bull thesis for Applied Digital though, if somebody has it. Yeah, down 4% today. Yeah, not great. Thoughts on Microsoft, thoughts on Marvel. Microsoft is... Yeah, how is Microsoft doing today? Okay, we're up 3% today. This is actually a lot better than I thought they would be doing. I think they're going to beat earnings, and I think that they're probably going to beat it by a healthy margin. I think we're probably going to see something similar to what we did with Google. We're probably also going to see similar guidance from management on what CapEx guidance looks like. That's the and if that case is also applied to Amazon and it's also applied to Meta, then we'll probably see... I'm not going to call it a paradigm shift, but the market's going to react to what their guidance says. And I think that if the market reaction is the same with what we saw with Google, we could see companies like SanDisk, we could see companies like AMAT, Micron correct even more potentially because of how concerned investors are with the amount of money that's being spent and how sustainable that is. I think Cipher Digital is better than Applied. Well, to be honest, I don't know anything about Cipher Digital. Buy Microsoft and forget it. That's not, that's a strategy that has worked before. How's Rocket Lab looking? Oops. Rocket Lab Corporation. Up 1.5% today. All right, cool. Looks like they got a recent contract nailed down with the Space Force, which is cool. There are things to like about Rocket Lab. I get why people like this stock. We'll see though. I mean, it's the execution risk is pretty big. And you could say the same for something like ASTS. I think they might be up today as well. Yeah, slightly up today. Massive execution risk with this company and Rocket Lab. So, and I don't think their moat is wide enough to protect them from someone like SpaceX. We'll see though. Richie, appreciate the heart me, man. AMD, I'm not a fan of AMD. How about Marvel? Yeah, how is Marvel doing today? I'd imagine it'd be a rough day for them. Yep. Not ideal. Yeah, so I think everyone decided this morning, or institutional capital decided this morning that they're going to adjust some of their positions in semiconductors and memory because they're concerned about the sustainability of CapEx spend. We shall see. We shall see if that holds true. Our first real indication of how that's going to look in the medium to long term is when Meta, Microsoft, and Amazon report their earnings this week. NVIDIA, good entry today over AMD. Well, Lucas, I like NVIDIA more from a fundamentals perspective. AMD is extremely expensive relative to its earnings, especially compared to NVIDIA. NVIDIA is just the stronger business. It's got better margins, better cash flow, better products. There's no reason to buy stock in AMD over NVIDIA, in my view. However, I'm also willing to listen to a contrarian opinion for somebody who disagrees. I think that that's a good way to learn more. Chips are down because Chinese memory maker IPO is up 450% on day one. We'll see. We'll see if it. I'd imagine it would follow a typical pattern of a typical IPO, and if that's the case, then they'll probably end up correcting. Thoughts on Redwire? It's okay. It's all right. SpaceX a buy under 100? In my view, no. I think we need to see SpaceX at between 60 and 70 per share. Still too expensive at that point. It's still too expensive now. It's moving in the right direction. I honestly should have shorted this a long time ago, but we'll see. Thoughts on Take-Two? Yeah, how is Take-Two Interactive doing? Take-Two is one of my highest conviction bull plays. I really like this stock. Really like the price still. Yeah, big fan of Take-Two Interactive. This is in its earnings report. Q2 earnings come out on August 7th. So hopefully we'll get some idea of what things look like for Take-Two, especially before the November release date of GTA 6. And also we'll get an idea of how the other publishing labels are doing. Thoughts on Eli Lilly? I like Eli Lilly. It's probably my favorite pharmaceutical. I mean, they're the leader in the GLP-1 game. After GTA 6, it's going to crash like none other. The stock or the game, Wilt? ServiceNow bounced off the 94.95 level, up almost 8%. Yep. Yep. And I think that around 92.50 was our support level for ServiceNow. So we'll see. The stock, as the hype will disappear around GTA 6. I could not disagree more. No. No. No, no. There's all kinds of things I could say about that, but no. Do you think we'll be back up to July 1 prices? With which company, Reed? Uber thoughts. Their market cap's only 12x free cash flow. Yeah, so Bryson, with Uber, there's murmurs, there's rumors of that Grab deal. I haven't heard any updates about a merger and or acquisition or acquisition of Grab. Uber is the fundamentals are okay with Uber. I'm not super excited about the margins. I'm not super excited about the balance sheet health. So, but the thing is that Uber's like it's fully matured at this point, right? It's captured pretty much most of the market share it can without buying somebody else or entering a new line of business, both of which are risky. The margins are okay. The past couple quarters, though, I mean, this isn't great, and its balance sheet health is stagnating a little bit. I don't like with these financing outflows. I'd imagine those would be share buybacks in Q4 25 and Q1 26. Which is probably boosting their price a little bit. There are things to like about Uber. I get it. I'd have to do a deeper dive into it. But for me, it would be purely a bet on a deal with Grab going through. So we'll see. USAR. Okay, a whole bunch of people are asking about USA Rare Earth. Yeah. USA Rare Earth, the things I like about it is you're getting exposure into things like samarium. You're getting exposure into things like these precious metals right here. You're getting exposure into that you probably wouldn't be able to otherwise because there's no futures market that exists for gallium or samarium or neodymium, these rare earths. That's what I like about it. What I don't like about mining stocks and what I don't like about these types of companies is that it's very capital intensive. A lot of times they're funded with debt because a lot of their assets are real assets that can be used as collateral by any lender. And their earnings fluctuate very, very, they're very volatile earnings. That's what I don't like about it. So as far as purchasing this company, I mean, it would be a play on those rare earths. I don't know enough about them to know if this is the right company to purchase stock in, because there could be others. Which stocks do you believe are the best to make profit in 10 years? In 10 years, that's a pretty long timeline. I mean, like, I'm never going to share my sales in Apple, if that answers your question. MP Materials. Yeah, I mean, same deal, right? I think they probably go after some different stuff. Let's see if they do. Okay, so they're more about produces rare earth materials for magnets. Yeah, so they probably collect materials for superconducting stuff, right? Similar deal, kind of different flavor, though. I mean, it could be an interesting play. I don't love mining stocks, to be honest. Don't love it. So there's definitely things to like about it. But to nobody's surprise, I mean, it's not, like USAR and like these guys, they're probably not making much money. I mean, if we go look at USAR right here. Yeah. So it's hemorrhaging cash. And it looks like they have to raise equity to make that happen. And then with MP, it's probably a similar story. So it has to be a very high conviction play. My conviction about these companies is not great, especially this one, since it has a continuous trend of being near profitability, but not quite. So we'll see. AMAT's down. It is, as a lot of other semiconductors are. I think the market said, "Yeah, we've had enough exposure into semis. We want out." Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Applied Materials. What do you think about Oracle in the long hold? I don't like Oracle as much as I like others. I think Google, I think Meta, I think Microsoft are better. I've held AMAT since $40, so it'll come back. Kristen, I'm in the same boat as you are. I've been a shareholder in AMAT for a very long time. I've made a lot of money on this company. Unrealized, I should say. Guys, I'm going to use the restroom really quick. Give me just a couple of minutes. I will be right back. 1 minute. All right, sorry about that. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Do you think ServiceNow has made its bottom, is breaking out right now? Boyd, great question. From a technical perspective, I think there's good reason to believe that. I saw a lot of oversold momentum with oops, wrong company, my bad. I saw a lot of oversold momentum with ServiceNow. This could be the breakout we need, and we could see support levels that bring it back up to somewhere around like 125, 130 a share. I think the right time to get in was around 95. My target price, though, for ServiceNow was at 195. So if you did get in at that point, and if you're still hanging on to it, I think it's worth hanging on to a little bit longer to see where it goes. But you can make an okay margin if you realize profits. It deserves a premium valuation. There's things to like about ServiceNow. Love what they've done with the business. Extremely sticky ecosystem. Their overhead's a little high, and they've done a fantastic job of integrating AI agents into the company. But the thing is that there's also the fundamental perspective to think about ServiceNow. They've got to execute over the next couple of years. So we'll see. I think they're the biggest. They survived the SaaS apocalypse, and probably thrived. Will AMAT come back, or is it done rising? What's your price target? Price target for Applied Materials, in my view, I'm still hanging on to it. I think it's somewhere around like $590, $600 a share. Those are my thoughts. Dude put out a video breaking down why not to buy ServiceNow, then the stock pumps and now says the bottom is in. I mean, listen, you're welcome to critique my analysis. Please do. I'm always open to listening to criticism about my the videos I publish and all that kind of stuff. There are things to like about ServiceNow. I mean, the target price in that YouTube video I made about ServiceNow, I think I said was $88. And yeah, and from a technical perspective, there were still things to like about it. What are your thoughts on SIMO? They had an exceptional run. Honestly, I've never heard of them. Is OpenAI falling apart? I think that Sam Altman is trying to put out a lot of fires right now. And he's I think he's in a he's in a tough spot. I'm not going to say that OpenAI is the next Enron, but things are not looking good over there. They've got all kinds of problems at OpenAI. Lam Research down 6.8%. Yeah, that's another tough one. Lam Research, I'm a big fan of. I like what they do. I think that there's a ton of things to like about them, but the problem is with Lam is, I hold shares in their main competitor. So nothing wrong with Lam. It's a great business. The fundamentals are there. There are things to like about it. Is now an interesting entry point? It could be. It could be. The thing is it's difficult to know what guidance for this week for Q2 earnings for the Mag 7 are. That's the main piece of news I'm interested in learning more about. That's the thing that I'm like, okay, we'll see. We'll see how things go. Think of Arista Networks. I have to do a deep dive into Arista. I have to do a deep dive into a lot of companies. There's cool things to like about Arista. But one thing that you got to do when you look at companies like that, have a PE of somewhere around 60, that have had an exceptionally, have done pretty good over the course of the year and have had, earnings beats and have done well, is that you have really got to look under the hood and see what the growth prospects are, because some of them I think are justified and some are not. And Arista I don't know which camp Arista Networks falls in. So I have to look at the books closer. I got to do a deep dive into the books. Do you think tech as a whole will go back to the prices before the start of the huge sell-off July 1st? Reed, I think we could with some. I think there's going to be winners and losers. As far as getting back to those prices, I don't know. We'll see. BlackBerry, your thoughts? I don't take BlackBerry seriously. GE Vernova, big fan of GE Vernova. A lot of things to like about GE Vernova. I think that they're the biggest player in providing the turbines needed for power generation. And their customers are starting to fight with each other about getting, first or second in line or jumping a spot in line. Because they do have a pretty significant backlog. So there's a lot of things to like about GE Vernova. I think that their backlog is more substantive than others in this space. What Lam competitor are you invested in? Applied Materials, AMAT. Andrew just heads up, there are false accounts impersonating you, following people in your chats. Oh, yeah. TikTok is, guys, sorry about the impersonation accounts. I don't know if I'm going to get like a verification badge or anything like that, but there are people impersonating me on TikTok. This is my only account, so please ignore DMs from those fake accounts. Say about VRT, I'm up 200%. Should I sell? if you're up 200% and you like and you like the profits that you have, I mean, there's not maybe. That's ultimately your decision, though. I'm not going to tell you whether you should sell or not. That's a nice margin, though. Joe says now profits and getting rewarded seems manipulative on stock price after ER. What do you mean by that, Joe? Can you complete that thought? Not 100% sure what you mean. Netflix. How is Netflix doing today? Oh, I'd imagine they'd be doing better than that since there was a federal judge that blocked that basically put an injunction on the Paramount and Warner Brothers deal. Here's the thing. The Netflix Q2 guidance was not good. What the management said about Q2, they beat in some aspects. They did okay in some aspects. Management's guidance for Netflix was a concerning read because they shifted the goalposts when it comes to measuring their metrics, especially when it comes to user engagement. So honestly, I'm not a fan. It would require me to really look under the hood and see what they kind of had a come to Jesus moment this year. So we'll see what they end up doing. There's a content and a price problem with Netflix, and they need to figure out which one's more important and then tackle it. They're at 2019 low levels right now. Yeah, so that's true. I don't know. I don't know with Netflix. It's hard to say what the right move is for them. Because there are things to like about Netflix. I don't know what they're going to do to fix the kind of business problem that they have going on. They need to re-deliver on their value proposition to customers again. And honestly, in the past they've kind of shit the bed. So, we'll see. I want to be able to buy stock in it and feel good about it. But the thing is that I kind of don't. I don't know what's going on with my camera at the moment, but there's something weird going on. There we go. So yeah. If you're asking what stocks to buy and ETFs you need to study, you need to before you even consider entering the stock. I don't know what you mean by that. But yes, I do my research. I do my homework. Do Kimberly-Clark. Stop with the basic cookie cutter stocks. Do Kimberly-Clark. I mean, it's a pretty basic cookie cutter company. All right. So yeah, I mean, the consumer goods space is interesting to me. I mean, okay, so I haven't looked at Kimberly-Clark in a long time. Yeah, I mean, so they still have the same brands: Pull-Ups, Huggies, Depends, Kleenex, Cottonelle. Yeah. No, I mean, okay, so Kimberly-Clark is consumer defensives like this. You usually get a decent valuation. You get a pretty low beta. Yep, decently low beta, decent valuation, and you get a good yield. This is a defensive blue chip. You're not going to see this company go up, 30% or 50% in a short period of time, or you're not going to see a massive amount of volatility out of it. Will you see some movement? Of course you will. I mean, here's how it's done since the beginning of the year. But it's not, this isn't something like Bloom Energy back in April. This isn't something like Caterpillar back in September 2025 or something like this. Getting smoked on SanDisk? Yeah, a lot of people in memory are feeling the pain today. Can you please analyze AST Space Mobile? Yeah, so ASTS is a massive execution risk. Somebody did send a good bear thesis or bull thesis to me. They sent detailed notes. I do appreciate that, so feel free to send it if you want. with respect to what's going to end up happening with them, I get like, being able to provide cell service anywhere in the world is valuable. And I understand that that doesn't work in the exact same way as something like what Starlink does. However, I am not aware of any type of patent or any type of unreplicatable technology that this company has such that SpaceX can go into their niche and do the same thing. The convertible note raise was interesting, and I know the contract with the Japanese government, I think, was also interesting, but massive execution risk. At this price point, I'm not fully convinced, to be honest. Let's see. What do you think? What are you thinking on semiconductor and memory? Obviously feeling the pain today. There are going to be long term. There's going to be winners. There's going to be losers. As far as what I think about something like SanDisk, what should you do if you're holding shares in this company? To be honest, I think that you'd have to go look at the filings. You'd have to go look and see what the play is. You have to go look and see what their moat is. Because today's like today, or when people are like, "Oh my God, I need to get out. I need to get out." I think the thing that I would do is I would go back to my original investment thesis in a company like this and understand why I bought stock in them in the first place, and if the market is incorrectly pricing something in, or if it's just not behaving rationally, or if my thesis is no longer the same as it was. So that's why that's what I think needs to be done first before you decide, oh God, I need to get out. What do you think of CEG and nuclear energy? I like nuclear fundamentally. The regulatory hurdles make me nervous, though. So there's still a lot to like about something like SanDisk. We'll see if this correction continues. I think it's also macro related as well. There are also some macro factors weighing in on something like this. SanDisk, Oracle, Micron, and Amazon, and NVIDIA. Orlando, I like all of those except one. I like all of them except Oracle. Not a fan of Oracle. Thoughts on Fluo Guide? Do you have a ticker, Jimmy's Place? CIFR. Daniel says check out CIFR. Cipher Digital. Okay. Oof. Rough day today. I think these guys are in the exact... They're very similar to what like Applied Digital does, no? Oh, never mind. Industrial scale data centers for Bitcoin mining and high performance compute hosting. Develops HPC data center facilities across various sites for hyperscaler tenants. Operates power one Bitcoin miner data center and maintains a pipeline across various sites. Okay, yeah. So they're a Bitcoin miner that pivoted into a neocloud. So they're similar to like IREN. They're similar to companies like this. Long term, I'm not bullish on the business model of a neocloud. And I'm not bullish on what these guys' moat could potentially be. It looks like they're losing money in a 2.5 beta, so they're all over the place. Yeah, so pretty massive losses in 2025. So on $224 million in revenue, they lost $822 million. I'd love to know what exactly that was, because I don't see any investing outflows that would show us there would be CapEx expenses that big. There's probably very large non-cash expenses. That's a pretty big change. Quarter over quarter, it seems all right, and it looks like they're mostly being funded by debt. So it's almost at face value, it looks like another mini CoreWeave. And CoreWeave, it's no secret that I've been very loud, and very vocal about how I do not like CoreWeave. I'm massively short this company. So as far as Cipher Digital, I'll go look at their 10Ks, their 10Qs, look at their investor letters and see what management has said and look at what their finances say. But, I mean, shit, I've got Edgar up right here. And we can kind of take a look at what their earnings have been. This is May 5th, 10Q for Q1, it looks like. So here's Cipher Digital's balance sheet. Okay, so they got Bitcoin, a lot of restricted cash, some cash and equivalents. I think this is in thousands. Okay, so they got $3 billion in restricted cash. Current liabilities are at about $1.2 billion. There's warrants and short-term borrowings, $355 million in short-term borrowings, and they've got $4.36 billion in debt. Yeah, so not great. Here's a basic income statement for 3 months ended March 31st. My goodness. Change in fair value power purchase agreement. That hurts right there. Yeah, no, this is an avoid so far. Yeah, I don't like what I see. Cipher Digital, nope. Gonna stay away from them for now. What do you think is the next big industry to take off? In my view, Cam, I think it's quantum computing. What about ASML? I think ASML is like, they're in some ways they're almost one of one. The lithography, the technology and the capex that they have spent to get the lithography capability that they have is pretty incredible. There are a lot of things to like about ASML. Their moat is insanely good. So as far as like what's a good entry point for them, I can't say for sure. I'd have to look at a DCF model and look at growth assumptions and look and see what technicals look like, and take a look at their financials and what the plan is and what their exposure is to other things, but we'll see. I think with ASML, fundamentally speaking, I really love it. Valuation-wise, I don't know. Which quantum stocks? To be honest, I'm not. So here's the thing. With companies like IonQ, because I know Orlando's been asking about it. The thing with quantum computing is that if you go look at something like IonQ's income statement, it's a money pit. They're losing money hand over fist. And the reason why is because their R&D expenses are so high. I mean, just go look at Rigetti Computing, RGTI. Their income statement isn't great. And I don't think the revenue streams have fully proven themselves out yet, because essentially they're leasing out the very, very small market that exists for quantum computing needs, and they're also selling quantum computers. So, yeah, is that cool? Of course. Of course it's awesome. It's very early, though, in the game. Why quantum computing? We're 5-10 years away. Yeah, I mean, Michael, I think that as far as the market and need for quantum computing, I think that it's going to be there soon. But if I had to pick one out of many different industries, I'd probably choose that. What do you think if QNT partnered with Honeywell but has so much money being dumped into R&D? Teo, I'm not 100% sure about that. I haven't heard that yet. I haven't seen any news about that. I'd have to go look at it. So I can't give you an informed opinion on it. What do you think of Palantir? Palantir, it's a cool business, incredible margins, incredible growth. I do not like the valuation, and I do not like their management. Don't like their leadership at all. What about CRM? Yeah, CRM. CRM is... Here's what I'll say about CRM. Obviously, it's having a great day, and there's a lot of things to like about Salesforce. One thing that's awesome about Salesforce, too, especially relative to its competition, is a strong cash flow, it's got strong margins, and it's got a strong customer base. I think that they're falling a little bit behind ServiceNow, though, when it comes to their capabilities. I know a lot of people do not like ServiceNow or Salesforce and their platform, but overall, there's a play here for Salesforce, so I like it. What would be the safest stock to invest in and expect a good return for long term? VOO. What do you think of TSM in the next 5 years? It'll still be around. 100%. It will 100% still be around. As far as what its price will be in what would you say next 5 years? I have no idea. That's pretty far out. As far as determining what its price will be. Axon, Orlando, do you have a ticker for them? Is it just Axon? Micron, with Micron it's oh shit. Up 5. Wow. Dang. Okay. Yeah, extremely expensive. I didn't realize it would be going up this much today though. It's an expensive stock. I'm not a fan of its valuation, to be honest. Not a fan of its valuation. This is an expensive company, especially relative to its earnings. Thoughts on Open with the new CEO? Who's their new CEO? What do I think of Oracle at this price? Not a fan, to be honest. Okay. Interesting. I didn't realize they got a new CEO. As far as would I buy shares in this company? Probably not. Probably not. It's not that big of a. I don't see the bull cases for it in the long run. Texas Land Corporation, TPL, and Carvana. Okay. Is this a what? What is Texas? This is oil and gas, right? Yeah. Yeah, so I know they've got land in the Permian Basin. I think they may have leases out there. And they're also in the transportation business, and it looks like they've got some royalty streams. I don't know enough about this business to know if it's a good idea. It feels like buying a mining stock, to be honest. I could be wrong about that. I'd have to learn more about what their revenue streams are like. Because I know that a lot of what I know that their business is heavily contingent upon what the price of Texas sweet crude is. So, there's probably a lot of things to like about this, but I'd really have to study how they make their money more. That's kind of my philosophy on it. Take a look at Carvana. I don't know what their ticker is offhand. Here it is, CVNA. That's right. Okay, wow. Up 5.6 today. 5.6%. I know Carvana was on a long road for turning around. I mean, they were on, you know, they were it was not looking good for Carvana for a while. I haven't looked at them since. How have they been doing? Nice. Okay. Looks like they've slowly been turning things around. Quarter over quarter seems fine. 4% margin. What is it worth today? $70 billion market cap. There was a big analyst upgrade for it. I thought Carvana was going to go bankrupt. Yep. So there could be a good case for Carvana. There could be. I'm sure there are probably things to like about it. At the moment, though, I don't know. I'd have to take a look at their filings. I'd love to hear a bull case on Carvana. So if somebody has like, if they've got a well thought out bull case on the company, I'd love to hear it. What's one of your favorite stocks at the moment? I'm a really big fan of Take-Two Interactive. It's my highest conviction bull play at the moment. I really like Take-Two Interactive. I think they're going to have a really, really, really solid year. I think 2027 is going to be even better. Really like this stock. ServiceNow. There's a lot of things to like about ServiceNow, Ali. Bought 3 shares of SanDisk today. I'm holding till 2027, 2030. Nice, Orlando. There you go. SLS. Is it Cella's Life Sciences or Space Launch Systems? Because I know SLS, Woody, is also something that people mention for Space Launch Systems. If it's the life sciences one, yeah, okay. So when it comes to biotech, when it comes to whether it's early stage biotech or early stage pharmaceutical, it's tough, and I'm not super confident investing into stuff like this because I don't understand the science and I don't understand the FDA approval process. I don't understand how that works. So it's a very binary outcome with companies like this. Now, I have no doubt that what they're doing is interesting, and I have no doubt that the things that they're developing and working on are interesting, but I don't know enough about it to be able to invest in it. I don't even know how to pronounce some of the word, like the Gallon Pepitmut S, a peptide immunotherapy directed against the Wilms tumor 1 antigen. Like, this is stuff. I'm not a biologist, not a doctor. So I need to have a better understanding of how all that stuff works. I want to get to that point eventually, but it's going to take a lot of time. So I'd love to hear your bull case for it if you have a bull case on them. Could China affect SanDisk in the long term? Sure. It absolutely could. Thoughts on FDA panel recommending peptides? What do you think of HIMSS? I think with HIMSS and hers, I'm not sure how their meeting with the FDA went, but they should be making more money than they are. They're having a very good day, though. I'd imagine that's probably... Is this as a result of, like, is the market pricing in that approval? Because I know that they were waiting on approval from the FDA, and it was coming imminently. As you say, explaining a bull case would be quite complicated. Well, then, Woody, why are you invested in it? I'm not, like, genuinely, like, if you don't have a strong bull case for it either, then why own it? Opinion on Microsoft, are they at a low? Speaking in the long term, yeah, I do think they are. I think Microsoft is at an interesting valuation. I think that all the Mag 7 are. No, I can explain it, but I see what you're saying. Explain it to you would be complicated. Yeah, no, don't waste your time. Don't, because that'll be a tough one. Workday, I don't like Workday. Are you live trading options? No, I'm not. How are we feeling about ASML? Yeah, this is an interesting one because they're at the very beginning of the supply chain for data centers, for AI, for essentially all this CapEx investment that's fueling a bull market. They're in many ways one of one with respect to their lithography. There's a ton of things to like about ASML. Will we continue to see a pullback? I'd imagine that it's going to be pretty sensitive to whatever sort of movement we end up seeing in the next week or two here. That's what I'm concerned about with ASML. So we'll see. It's tough for ASML. This is a tough one. Microsoft 500. We'll see. We'll see, Bryson. Avgo. Yeah, Broadcom. I'd want to know why Broadcom isn't suffering as bad as some others. Like what is Like, why isn't Broadcom down 5.5%? That's what I really want to know. For some reason, they're just flat on the day. APLD, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Applied Digital. They're losing money way too quickly. They should be making money too, but they're losing money more. What do you mean? They're about Mag 7 stocks just jumped in thinking undervalued. Tyler, I'm going to pay really close attention to what earnings say and what management's guidance is. So we'll see. I think what Amazon and Microsoft and Meta will report and what they'll say about their earnings will say a lot and will have a lot of impact upon what SanDisk is going to do, what Western Digital is going to do, what Applied Materials and Micron are going to do. So it's the guidance from those letters is what I'm really concerned about. It's kind of tariffs. I know tariffs have played a factor. I think the reason why we're seeing SanDisk down 12% is because some investors are like, I don't know how confident I am anymore about how this spending is going to be sustainable. Am I still buying more Amazon? Not at the moment, no. To be honest, I probably should. There's a lot to like Amazon at its current price, especially what's happened over the last month, in my view. Now, as far as what's going to happen going into earnings, we may see a positive. I don't know how strong the reaction is going to be when it comes to earnings. Like, will we see the same type of movement with Amazon as we will with Intel right after their Q2 earnings? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be that dramatic of a move. It's certainly possible. I'm not going to discount that possibility. And there's also a lot to like about Amazon at this price. Orlando, I'm not going to tell you to invest in Amazon. I'm not going to tell you one thing or the other. What I will say is that you do your own due diligence. Will I think they beat expectations? I'd imagine they will. I'd imagine they'll probably have a slight beat. You see bottom on Intel? Yeah. What's Intel's bottom? I don't know what Intel's bottom is. I know this is too expensive though. Yeah, it's hard to say what their bottom is, but this is pretty expensive still, even for Intel. I know they knocked it out of the park with Q2 earnings, and there's a lot to like about how they've turned things around. We'll see, though. Yeah, it's hard to call what the bottom with Intel would be. Do I like DRAM? Not really, Naomi. Take-Two Interactive's on the 7th, right? Yep. Keep buying NVIDIA whilst it's dipping. Dylan, yeah, NVIDIA is an interesting one. I understand why it's down today. I understand why we're seeing the price action we're seeing. But it's fundamentally speaking, it's the best positioned company out of any of them. So will it come back up above $200 a share? In the near future, I'm confident it will. Yes. How much more above that will it go? I'm not 100% sure. But if I wanted to get GPU exposure and I wanted the best company in the world for that, it would be NVIDIA. Uber versus Dash. Uber. Thanks, Naomi. Thanks for hanging out. Thoughts on Nintendo stock? Nintendo. Huh. Let's actually look at see how they're. Well, I know that you can get it over the counter here, but I don't know what the Nintendo's ticker is on the Nikkei. I'd imagine like I can still get a look at their fundamentals and that kind of stuff. The most valuable part of Nintendo is their brand, 100%. Their brand and their IP. That's what I really like about Nintendo. I'd have to know how they're going to kind of navigate the future, and they dominate the handheld gaming market. I'd want to know what their plan to 2030 is, though. That's what I want to know. What do you think about BlackBerry stock? I don't even think about BlackBerry stock. It's a meme to me. American Airlines for short-term swings looks interesting on the 4-hour chart, bouncing off the 20 EMA. Yeah, I mean, you got to watch that pretty closely, though. I mean, American Airlines is the weakest out of all the airlines by far. It's honestly not a particularly close margin. From a fundamental perspective, I mean, there's not a ton to like about American Airlines, but if you like the signal that you're seeing from a technical side of things, could be a good play. You got to watch it closely, though. I don't like American Airlines. I don't like it as a customer. I don't like it as an investor. Welcome back, Malik. I think Avgo is better than NVIDIA. I'm going to do a swap from NVIDIA to Avgo. Avgo gets paid in custom chips, which I think will take up more CapEx dollars in the future than they will have an edge and network. Interesting thought. Interesting thought. Why is NVIDIA down? A lot of companies are down today. General anxiety in the market about what's going to end up going on. Short term or long on American Airlines? I'm short on the company. Well, I'm not. I don't have a short position in American Airlines. I do own shares in Delta, though. Delta's just a better business. It's better ran. They've got a better network, better coverage, better code sharing with partner airlines. It's just a better airline. Thoughts on Robinhood? Interesting. I think Robinhood's an interesting play. There are things to like about Robinhood. I think that it's more interesting than SoFi, if I'm being honest. Just sold some profits and applied and bought Take-Two. Cool. There you go. Well done, Thomas. People are predicting NVIDIA at $400 to $800 a share in 2030. That's kind of far out, though, Orlando. That's not. That could happen. That's not like super near future, though, especially in terms of the stock market. That can be kind of a long ways. As far as $400 a share, we'll see. Because you have to pay attention on who buys all of NVIDIA's products and where they're getting that money from and how they're making their money. Thoughts on IONQ? It's too early for me, Jordan. SK Hynix or Micron? Both. I would take shares in both. Chipotle is having a good day. Do you think there are CMG, my bad, not CMT. Do you think they bottomed? I don't know. Is Bill Ackman still holding his shares in Chipotle? Is Perishing Square still holding their position in Chipotle? Let's go look at their I want to look at this really quick. Because I honestly haven't paid attention to what Chipotle's moat has been, what their earnings have been like. Steady, stable. It looks like they've been doing, those might be pretty consistent buybacks they've been doing. I want to know what those financing outflows, though. Could be wrong about that. But, yeah, like 9.8% margin. Revenue's slowly been growing year over year. It's okay. Do they have a yield? Do they pay a dividend? No, they don't. And how have they been year to date? It's not a great year for Chipotle, but really not that huge of movement. I mean, they were at $37.50 a share at the beginning of the year. Now they're at $33. I mean, it could be an interesting point to enter Chipotle, but it's kind of boring. Like, it's steady, it's boring. They at this point for a company like Chipotle, In order to really, like, what I think would really move the stock is if they got a bunch of real estate deals under contract, because it's a real estate development game for a company like this, or hiring the right developers to expand their footprint. Can I just humor you by looking at BlackBerry? Yeah, sure. Yeah, $8.45 a share. I mean, I'm not like this isn't something BlackBerry, Nokia. I don't. Send me a bull thesis. I will listen all day to a bull thesis on Nokia and BlackBerry. I will 100% listen to anybody who has researched what they've done and what they've done to pivot over the last couple of years. Sure, they've had a pretty good year, and some people have probably made some money on the stock, but I'd love to know what people's long-term thoughts are on this. What do I think about Ford? No. Nope, not a fan of Ford. Not a fan of any. I don't buy stocks in automotive companies at all. Least of all Ford. Absolutely not. How long do I think this sell-off will be? Hard to say. Hard to say, Saran. I think we need to see what Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft are going to say this week. Show you your chart of Ford. Sure. Yeah. Oops. Yeah, here's Ford over the past year. So it's been okay. Pretty good. Here's Ford all time. Since it started trading back in 1985. It briefly got over $30 a share during the dot-com bubble. And then after that, it hasn't gone above $20 a share since, except for briefly once in 2021. Probably one of the most boring investments out there. I'd almost rather buy treasury bonds, to be honest. Ford's a dividend play, and not that great. I mean, there are better ones, too. Like 60 cents a share that puts you to 4.2 yield. There's better yields out there. Why not Ford? Why not automotives? Because automotive companies are extremely cyclical. They're very cyclical, extremely CapEx intensive, which means they usually have messy balance sheets as a result, and their cost structures are insane. And most of them lose money for long periods of time with brief periods of success and strong earnings reports. Tesla is like probably the biggest, the most egregious example of it. You're going to buy a car company at 280x earnings. No thanks. Rivian, nope. General Motors, nope. I don't like automotive companies. Retail expected SpaceX to launch to turn the stock opposite at play more bearish. I mean, sure. SpaceX doesn't become interesting to me though until it's below $70 a share. So it's got, in my view, it's got a long way to go down. They also struggle to expand margins with union labor too. Yeah, exactly. Right. That's yet another reason why I don't like automotives. What does the 280x mean on Tesla? On Tesla, Garrett, that means it's priced at 280 times per share what it earns in profit per share. So one way to think about that is that if you became a shareholder in Tesla, at its current earnings, at the current profit per share it makes, it would take 280 years for you to earn your money back in earnings per share relative to the investment you made. So, a long time. What do you think about Alphabet? Yeah, how is Google doing today? Or I should say Alphabet. Up 2.5%. Yep. It's at an interesting price. I will say that they did have good earnings for Q2. I know they're being cash flow negative for the first time ever. Really scared a lot of people. The fundamentals are there for Google, and I think they will continue to spend money for the time being. What do you think of IREN or Now? Queen of Shenanigans, I like ServiceNow more long-term than I like IREN. I I think the right price to get into ServiceNow was somewhere around $92 a share. We could see continued support for it. For IREN, I'm not interested in it until it goes below 30 per share. Thoughts on Apple? I've had it for a long time, and I just heard it even more. I'm an Apple shareholder. I'm probably never selling my shares in Apple. SpaceX valuation was way too high at its IPO. It absolutely was. Yeah, it absolutely was. Is it negative for the market if the Mag 7 continues to spend more money on CapEx? What we're seeing today, I think, is what a lot of investors are beginning to realize. Like, SanDisk is probably like, well, I'll just do DRAM because that can cover more companies than just one at once. I think what investors are beginning to realize is the sustainability of all this CapEx money going into AI is beginning to come into question a little bit. How long can the hyperscalers keep this going for? And if they're going to show signs of potentially slowing down, or if there is a downturn in the sentiment about the utility of AI, that's not good for memory. That's not good for semiconductors. That's not good for GPUs. It's not good for ASML, not good for AMD or NVIDIA. It's not good for SK Hynix or Micron. It's not good for AMAT or Lam Research. It's not good for SanDisk, Western Digital, Seagate, any of that. That also will impact other areas of the economy as well. So I think that answers your question. If it's negative for the market will react negatively if they continue to question the sustainability of this. What about Nebius? Nebius is okay. I'm not bullish on NeoClouds though, because NeoClouds like Nebius, NeoClouds like CoreWeave, NeoClouds like IREN, NeoClouds like Cipher Digital. They're a stopgap. They're a small bridge loan for hyperscalers. Right now, CoreWeave, like the business, CoreWeave's business, they're a temporary solution for Meta. They're a temporary solution for Microsoft. They're a temporary solution for its clients. Once their clients have the capacity they need, they'll toss companies like CoreWeave to the side. Are you still shorting CoreWeave? What's a good price range to go for a long? Boyd, I am still shorting CoreWeave. If I wanted to go long on CoreWeave, to be honest, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, I would go long at CoreWeave at less than $20 a share. This especially this company. It's the amount of debt that they're using to fuel their expansion and the amount of money that they continue, their loss expansion continues to grow at a rate faster than what they capture revenue growth at. They have variable rate debt, so half their debt is variable rate, exposed to things like 10-year yields and SOFR. So if there's a downturn from a macro perspective, their carry costs balloon. They go even further into the red. Is that what you told about CoreWeave and Nebius, the same case for Oracle? No, I don't think that Oracle is in the same position because they actually do have things like ERP software. They do have things like cloud hosting services that they have legacy clients for. They're not just GPU landlords. I still don't like Oracle though as a company. CoreWeave has a big backlog though. Yeah, they do have a big backlog, but they have 3 customers and they compete with their 3 customers for that same GPU backlog. So once their customers get the hands on what they're trying to get their hands on too, then why would their customers need them? And by the way, they're borrowing money to make that happen. Do I like Take-Two Interactive? Yes, I'm a big fan of them, Eric. So stocks like Keel, CLSK will fall simultaneously to semis. Yeah, they're correlated. They're absolutely correlated. And I think small cap companies like Keel are the most exposed. So Yeah, that's the thing. Like in today's market, I think it's very important for anybody looking at their portfolio to make sure that everything that they're holding isn't correlated to each other. That's a key thing in risk management, especially when it comes to investing. Look at Shopify's. Yeah, how is Shopify doing? Wow. Wow, they're having a great day. Awesome. Wow, up 10% today. It's expensive, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to like about Shopify. It's expensive though. It's a bit of an expensive stock. I mean, how do their fundamentals look? Let's just take a quick look at their financials. Just a quick 30,000-foot view of how performance has been financially speaking. Nice revenue growth from 24 to 25. Margins came down a little bit. Pretty healthy balance sheet. How's the beta look? Because that'll have an implication on their what's the beta? 2.3. So their cost of capital is probably a bit high because their share price is pretty volatile. It looks like they don't have a ton of debt, and they lost money in Q1. It would probably have to be a pretty high conviction bull case for it. I could see why people like it though. I mean, we'll see. I'll put it on a watch list. Think about TeraWulf. Not super excited about TeraWulf. So I don't like Oracle. Too much risk. And if you do, just look like the risk reward for Boyd. I don't like Oracle because of the downgrade. The S&P downgrade for that. I mean, they're not investment grade credit anymore, and they have very, very high credit risk with OpenAI. I mean, that's a lot of what their forward PE is baked on, is dependent on. That's not. I think to be honest, I think Larry Ellison bit off more than he could chew, and was a little bit too excited about what Sam Altman said. And Sam Altman is not exactly known to be a truthful or trustworthy person. So I'll let you decide what you think. I'll let you decide how you think that will impact Oracle's future business prospects. Go look at Bros. Dutch Bros. Oh yeah, coffee place. It seems pretty expensive for coffee. I mean, this is an $11.5 billion company. I know they have been kind of slowly chipping away at Starbucks' market share. Priced at 104x earnings for coffee. That's a lot. Pretty thin margins too. Fantastic revenue growth though. They've been putting a lot of money to work. As far as Dutch Bros, Matt, I think they're okay. This is a pretty high valuation for a company that just sells coffee. I mean, I know it's like a franchise, like they have a whole franchise segment set up. So in any type of franchise business that uses physical space to sell products or services to customers, it becomes a real estate development game at that point. It feels rich. It feels like a pretty rich valuation. Got to go over SMCI and their fundamentals. Yeah, I know that SMCI feels like they're the next, like they walk the walk and talk the talk. They talk the talk and walk the walk. I mean, there's a lot to like about SMCI. I think that their backlog is more substantive than other backlogs for other companies. Down a bit today, though. Jersey Mike's is a franchise business that has billions in debt. How much upside is in the food industry? Depends on how much they're going to continue to upcharge for stuff on their sandwiches. um, I mean, I saw the same thing you did, Ben. There's things to like about Jersey Mike's. I think it's going to be a pretty typical IPO. We'll see a pretty volatile first day, maybe a good week, and then people will come back down to earth on it. It's not SpaceX's IPO, that's for damn sure. It'll be a good day for insiders and people who have stock in the ESPP. It's probably okay, but yeah. I wasn't super excited when I saw Jersey Mike's numbers. GameStop, yeah, let's check out GME. All right, so the fun thing about GameStop is its CEO, Ryan Cohen, says he's still serious about buying eBay. I don't know if you guys saw that call on CNBC with him mentioning about how he wants to put in a bid to buy eBay. And I know the board of directors at eBay basically, played basketball with the wad of paper that they wadded up from that letter that he wrote them. But I think it's hilarious. This is a fun story to watch. I'd really want to see how far this guy's going. I mean, Ryan Cohen's crazy, but he seems crazy. Might be the right kind of crazy. An interesting play. That's all there is. Like, it's a value trap, though, in my opinion, still, because the brick and mortar side of things is basically sustaining this company. There's still things to like about it. Is it going to be 2021 again anytime soon? No. Are we going to see a massive short squeezing GameStop? Probably not. Intel, Marcos, I'm not a fan of Intel at this price. It's got a long way to go. What time am I normally online? Anywhere from 1:30 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, U.S. Can you do Nordic American Tankers? I need a ticker. Opinions on KKR. Yeah, how is KKR doing? $100 a share. $94 billion market cap. As far as KKR, I'd rather buy Blackstone if I wanted to get into the private equity game. I think Blackstone also has Blackstone's real estate holdings are a lot more impressive too. Iran versus Nebius opinion. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be Iran, but because their valuation is a little bit more realistic than Nebius's is, but I'm still not bullish on NeoClouds. Buy, hold, sell, Adobe, SAP, Oracle on the prices right now. How is Adobe doing today? Oh, nice. They're having a good day. Maybe people are finally starting to wake up about Adobe. Buy, sell, hold, Adobe, SAP, Oracle. Hold Adobe, hold SAP. I'd probably do a little bit of holding and selling of Oracle. Isn't KKR in the same line as Blackstone, just a bit more aggressive? They've got different investments, but yeah, KKR is a private equity firm. They're not as big either. CF Fertilizer is a very interesting company. Please go over it. What's the ticker? I hate shit on SanDisk. A lot of people did. You're not alone. How do you properly trim a stock after making profits? What do you mean by that, Mac? I don't understand the question. CF Industry Holdings. Is this the CF Fertilizer? Agricultural Inputs. Yep, this is them. Production of ammonia in North America, Europe, and internationally. Granular urea, UAN, and other segments. Okay, so they produce fertilizer. Been around since not Citigroup, not the bank. There we go. They've been around a long time. They're only priced 11 times earnings. So let's see if this is a typical play at the moment. Hang on, I'm going to go here. Compare the numbers really quick. Yeah, so 2% yield, low beta, low PE. This is probably not. It's probably pretty boring, to be honest. They've had a pretty good year, though. Okay. Are they worth more than this, though? It's probably because so let's go look. Oh wow, okay, so you can make a 21% margin on fertilizer. Interesting. Quarterly revenue and income growth look interesting. They had a very nice Q1 26. So was that because of fertilizer prices in the Strait of Hormuz situation? Because I know a lot of fertilizer flows in and out of there. I'd imagine that might be the case. Dividends are nice. Yes, it was. Fertilizer bill. Yeah. Um. Okay. I mean, so that's why we saw that much price movement back here. So when the Strait of Hormuz got closed, this is why the stock went up. It's probably not because there was a large fundamental improvement in the company. It's if I yeah, I mean, if I had the extra cash, I maybe. But the thing is there's more exciting opportunities in my view. Not a bad backdoor play for the war. No, Hunter, probably not. Um, it feels a little bit like a value trap though, but we'll see. What do you think of ASTS after $1 billion offering? Massive executional risk, a little bit too much for me. Would you say they're more exciting plays? Well, I have the deep dives on companies that I'm bullish on my YouTube channel. Reddit being one of them, for example. I'm bullish on Reddit. I know Reddit has had a pretty rough week. It looks like we're getting close to recovering to where we were. At least we're on the right path with Reddit. I'm a big fan of Take-Two Interactive. Bullish on them. And I'm also bullish on Nike. I like Nike's board of directors. I think they're making the right plays. Could be a little bit. I think Nike's going to take longer to get to its target price than Reddit and TTWO will, though. So there are some things that I like, some things that I'm bullish on. For the most part, though, it's harder to find deals in this market than it has been in the past. Rigetti, KD, I looked at Rigetti's income statement and it was a little too scary for me. I think the quantum space is really cool. I think they're doing cool stuff, especially with the vertical integration that Rigetti's doing. It's a little early for me, though. Take-Two target price after earnings. For now, Alfie, my target price for Take-Two before Q2 earnings is $285 a share. That could change, though, based on the data we see. And I'd imagine that would probably go up. So you don't think Take-Two is priced in? No. I think the market is not correctly pricing in the release of GTA 6, and nor is the market correctly pricing in this is the hidden part of Take-Two Interactive is the company bought Zynga. So like the Zynga, they made like, dumb mobile games or like cute little mobile games that people played. Take-Two Interactive bought that back in 2022, and it was a horrible decision for them. And the reason why is because Apple changed some terms of service on iPhone such that people could opt out of some location data being shared. I think that was back in like 2022, 2023. That was not good for Take-Two Interactive. It was not good for their Zynga acquisition because targeted ads from Zynga games came from that data that they shared from their iPhone. So now they had to do massive IP impairment charges on their income statement. That's why they were unprofitable. But now they're finally done with that. They've finally finished doing all that, and that was years of massive IP impairment and intangible impairment on their balance sheet. Now things are looking good for Take-Two Interactive, and I think we'll see them be profitable. And no, I don't think the market is correctly pricing in GTA 6's release. I think they're going to knock it out of the park. It's going to be a Grand Slam home run. Now, what do we think about SoFi with earnings coming up this week? Probably a big swing either way. To me, SoFi, it's just, I mean, it's okay. It's a little boring though. I'm more excited by Robinhood if I'm being honest. And SoFi, it's had a rough year, dude. it's been rough. It's not here's SoFi since July 25. What about ServiceNow? I think ServiceNow is getting the treatment it deserves. I think it deserves to be. I like the price that it's at. My target price for ServiceNow is between 92 and 95. So from a technical basis, I think it's worth hanging on to. NXE, it's a leveraged uranium bet that demand will double by 2030. Oh man, okay. Next Gen Energy, leveraged uranium bet. So, meaning they're in a ton of debt, or is there a ticker I'm missing where they're part of the leverage ETF? Uranium properties in Canada. 100% interest in the Rook 1 project consists of 32 contiguous mineral claims in the Athabasca Basin of Saskatchewan, headquartered in Vancouver. Okay. So do they actually do the mining of it though? Because they own claims to all kinds of stuff. Yeah, look at that. Ugh. Ugly. Okay, so it reacts almost 2x uranium price gains because of pre-production. It owns the largest uranium mine in Canada. So this is an indirect bet on nuclear. Okay. I don't know. I'll give it some thought. Why is Take-Two up so much today? Caravansary, honestly, I don't know. Don't know why it's up too much, though, but I like the fact that it's up. The direction moves twice as much uranium because the whole reason for moving future prices. Okay. I mean, owning the largest uranium mine in Canada is nothing to scoff at. So it's a play on the price of uranium and nuclear. I get it. I get it. All right, guys, I got to run. I got some things I got to take care of this afternoon. So I really appreciate everyone joining. We were live for almost 2 hours today. I had a ton of fun with talking to everybody. I always enjoy doing this. Love live streaming with you guys. Love talking with y'all. So thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out, sharing your ideas. I have to call it a day because I have to pack. I'm leaving tomorrow, which means I'm going to be out the rest of the week. Today's the only day I'm going to be streaming, unfortunately, this week, because I have to go hang out. I need to go see family. Going to be spending some time with my folks. So I will be gone until next Tuesday. In the meantime, I might be doing a little bit of IRL streaming. Who knows, that kind of stuff. I will still be posting content here on TikTok. And if you guys want more in-depth answers and all that kind of stuff about my picks or companies that I like, or if you want more detail than what you got today, go to my YouTube channel. It's all on my YouTube channel. And go to my YouTube channel, hit subscribe there too. It'd mean a ton. So go check that out, because that's where I put in the real work. That's where I dive into the weeds. That's where I give you my ideas and all that kind of stuff. Will we get a detailed video this week? Unfortunately, no, Olaf, we will not. I will be away for my setup this week. Have you got a YouTube channel I can watch? Yes. It's in, my YouTube is in the link in my bio. That's where the rest of my socials are. So go check that out. And go comment, go like it, that kind of stuff. I would really appreciate that. And make sure you hit follow here too. And for those of you, if this is your first time hanging out here, thanks so much, guys, for joining. And we'll see you next time. Have a good one, everyone. Take care.